All right, so let's learn a little bit about William Shakespeare to start us off. We're reading this play is called Taming of the Shrew.
You're writing this on the back.
Yep, on the back. You don't need to write this down though. Write down the first point here. It's written between 1590 and 1592. The reason we don't know exact publication dates is because we really don't know much about Shakespeare at all. Got it? Okay. He's such a mystery that people will spend their entire careers, which seems insane, but they'll spend their entire careers looking for a Shakespeare signature. There's 7 of them known. They found 7 places where William Shakespeare has signed his name. They're not sure though about a couple of them, if it really was Shakespeare. And that's about all they know about him. There's all sorts of rumors about Shakespeare, about, you know, who, that maybe it wasn't actually, that maybe it wasn't actually him who wrote all the plays. There's rumors that Shakespeare was a woman, which is a fun one. There's rumors that Shakespeare didn't actually exist at all, but that it was another playwright who kind of like took on that that name for these different plays. We're fairly certain though that there was a guy named Shakespeare who had a couple kids, one who died early, who was married, who lived in Stratford upon Avon, and who wrote all of these plays. We're fairly certain about that, but that's basically the extent of our knowledge. We do. Yeah, so what we really know is what his plays tell us, which makes it, like, I think kind of fun to study Shakespeare, because you don't really have to get all this biographical knowledge. You just understand why these plays have stood the test of time. Like why these are the plays that every year you have to read one. What it is about Shakespeare that made these plays so good. This one takes place in Padua, write that down, Padua, Italy. And different places in Italy at the time of Shakespeare's life were known for different things. Like Venice was like capital of love. Rome was like the capital of the government. That's where like all this government political stuff happened. Florence was where, you know, it's kind of the capital of art. And Padua was kind of the capital of education. They had a very prominent university there. It was like, I don't know, kind of like the Harvard at the time. So it's also kind of a city center place with lots of merchants and stuff coming through, the same way you would in a college town now. All right, so Padua written sometime between 1590 and 1592. Okay, let's take a pause for a second. Tell me what you think needs to be included in a comedy. For something to call, not a Shakespearean comedy, just a comedy in general. What needs to be included? Megan? The what? What comedy is that? I feel like comedy doesn't often have death though.
But it's always funny for one girl that
You're talking about like Mean Girls?
No.
Getting hit by the bus? Or?
Anyone. Just anyone. Like a woman who said they're like stupid.
Okay, here's how I'm gonna interpret that, because I don't think that there's not often a lot of death in comedies, unless they're dark comedies. But like it's the dumb people, the mean people, they have to get punished. They're somehow right overcomes wrong, you know? Taya? Yes, so much irony. We're going to talk about irony, especially in Shakespearean comedies, where you're expecting one thing to happen and the reverse happens. Em?
I always find it hilarious when just things happen wrong. And then also there's this one character that just makes me laugh entirely.
All right, cool. So you've got some ridiculous character in it, always. Like there's someone who's just over the top ridiculous, right? That we just get to laugh at. There's this idea that everything's going to go wrong or certain things are going to be mistaken. It's a part of what creates the irony. That's definitely a proof comedy. Luke?
The comedy has to have like content.
Absolutely. Comedy has to be relatable in a way that tragedy does not have to be relatable. We can watch, you know, the tragedy, for example, like some monarch who has to divide his kingdom 3 ways. That's the plot of King Lear. And I have never been a monarch who is dividing my kingdom, right? I don't have to necessarily relate to that. Comedy is usually about regular people doing regular things so that we can kind of recognize our own sort of ridiculousness. Lexi?
Adding on to that, there's always that one over the top person. I always
Romeo's first girlfriend breaks up with him or whatever, and some dude comes up to him and says, "Hey, like I need to get to this place. I don't remember where he needs to go." But he was asking for directions, and Romeo says something along the lines of, "I know not which way you are searching for my heart is broken. I cannot find my own way to my heart." And
Wow.
like, "I cannot find the way to thine sweet lady's heart," or whatever. And it's just like, dude, it's just like, well, dude, Walmart's over there.
Although in that one, that's a tragedy, right? So it's not meant to be taken as a joke. He's just young.
Oh, I think it's funny.
I thought it was funny.
Because he's literally, some guy's just like, "Hey, do you know where this is?" And instead of just saying, "No, man, I don't," he goes into like this big tangent where he's like, "For I cannot find the way to thine sweet
Yeah.
ear."
Yeah. Okay, yeah, Rachel.
Going back to that word,
Yeah.
a lot of situations are exaggerated too. Like,
Yes.
oh, I lost my key with the end of the world. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't get cupcakes or cookies or whatever it is.
Yes. And there's these spirals, right?
Yeah.
It's like it spirals out of control. We were talking at the beginning of class about snowballing. It's that snowball effect that creates the comedy. Okay, cool. Here are the official things that a comedy has to have. Write this down, but you can write it in simplistic terms. So write down that they need to have happy endings. Happy endings. The happy ending might be up for interpretation. We might not agree that it's a happy ending, but the play itself thinks this is a happy ending. A lot of times that happy ending will involve marriage, especially in a romantic comedy like this one is.
Right.
Here's where the point that Luke brought up was the idiosyncrasies, sorry, of ordinary people. So like the little weirdness of ordinary people, all these little weirdnesses that we have. We are weird. We do weird things all the time, and comedy will point out that stuff. So like, I think stand-up comedy really, like if you watch any stand-up comedy, you can see that when they recognize things that we do that it's just strange, right? It'll obviously have a happy or light tone. And here's where the irony comes in. It will emphasize human shortcomings. And that kind of goes with what Rachel was saying too. It points out the things that we do like that are a little bit over the top, like you guys were saying over here. And it'll point out why that's a bit of our downfall as people. But ultimately, the conflict is not serious. Like Rachel was saying, it's like you lose your keys and that creates the conflict, right? We might object and say marriage is quite serious and this play is about marriage, but ultimately, no one's life is on the line. It's not like tragedy where someone is going to die, but usually more people are going to die.
Nobody physically.
Not in Taming of the Shrew. The last one uses ambiguous language resulting in humor. Lots of sarcasm, lots of puns, lots of people saying one thing and being interpreted incorrectly.
Excellent.
And the last one, exactly, it's that kind of stuff. The last one is all about viewing life as ridiculous. So it's in a tragedy, you are viewing life as tragic or heroic, or that life is going to have all of this meaning that reverberates on for all time. Comedy is like, you live, you die, and you do some stupid stuff in between. All right. Okay, the two main things we need to talk about with this style of comedy is satire and irony. So satire is the use of humor to ridicule people's stupidity and vices. So it's usually about politics, it's usually about topical issues, it's something that's like a little bit controversial usually, and they'll use satire to point out how dumb we all are. And it can do that in two ways. It can be really mean satire, just so you know, that's called juvenalian satire, where you're like pointing out people's sort of vices and saying that is evil that they behave that way, and yet somehow we laugh at that. Or it can be what's called Horatian satire, which is more lighthearted. It's the one where like we all recognize that we all do dumb things. And that's the kind of satire we're going to be looking at in Taming of the Shrew for the most part. Irony, here's the official definition. It is the expression of one's meaning by using language that normally signifies the opposite. Okay. that's kind of wordy. Basically, irony is when you expect the opposite. And that can be verbal, situational, or dramatic. Verbal irony is like sarcasm. So there's a guy at the prison, he's 6'7", 350 pounds, and his nickname is Tiny. That's an example of verbal irony. Situational irony is like the firehouse is on fire, where it's like the opposite of what you expect. The police station is robbed, that kind of a thing. Okay, you got it? These two definitions. Okay, cool. Let me show you some examples of satire and irony. So this one, I got them about gender because Taming of the Shrew is about gender. It says, don't you think you exaggerate that gender equality issue, hun? She's shaving her beard. So it's like making fun of like feminists for going too far, you know? The kind of lighthearted satire where you're kind of poking fun at everybody. Or this one, which is a little bit less lighthearted, that says, we plan to pay you less than the men, but it will all be in crisp new Harriet Tubman 20s. So it's about how we change surface level things, like changing who is on the $20 bill rather than changing the inequality at the heart of it, right? So it can be like quite political. And then I've got an example of irony. Oh, I forgot though, it's not school appropriate, so I'll have to think of it.
What? No, we got.
Sorry, no, it's a bad one. Okay.
Like any of us care.
Please? No.
I won't tell.
No, it's not even funny. You're not missing out on anything. It's just weird. So I will get a better one next time. Okay.
It's just good.
I want you to also write down the 3 central questions that we're going to be thinking about with Taming of the Shrew. Number 1, this play is full of disguises, so much so that it gets quite confusing. People pretending to be others, pretending to be others. So we want to think about what is the role of the disguise in this play, and how do disguises advance the theme, the play's thematic purposes. So what is this play's themes about? Honesty and performance and pretending to be something you're not, authenticity. Number 2, are we meant to be distressed by the way Petruchio treats Katharina? You don't know who those people are yet, but you will. Or are we meant to delight in her taming? Katharina is the shrew, and a man is going to tame her. That's kind of the plot of the play. Yes. So we need to figure out, is this play meant to be satirical? Are we supposed to be criticizing that? Or are we supposed to be so happy that she is tamed? And then the last one, who tames whom? Yeah, Nick? Shrew is a little, well, 2 things. It's a little animal that like lives in the ground, that it's like kind of a rodent, a vermin. But a shrew, yeah, but it's really talking about a shrew, which is a name that you call a woman who nags a lot. Old fashioned. That's the one this one's talking about. All right, you got those central questions? No, you don't. You're still writing. Sorry. You can't.
I'm right faster.
I'm still on the second question.
Okay, then while you are writing those, let me write down the parts that we have. Right. It's not hard, but we can start. Why? Oh. Okay, when you're done writing those questions, open up the book to the induction. It doesn't happen until like a good fifth of the way through the book. There's a big, long introduction. Let me tell you about these roles. So Sly, he doesn't speak that much here at the beginning, but he does have kind of a fun part because he is totally drunk. Oh, wait, okay.
Why?
What page is it?
It's gonna be like page 7 officially. It's right, it's where it says the induction. All right. Similarly, the hostess doesn't have very many lines, but she does get to yell at Sly. Okay, the Lord speaks a lot. Laura. Yes. First huntsman, second huntsman, and third huntsman, they have a few lines. They are servants, kind of buddies. Let's say they're bros to the Lord. Who wants to play a bro? You already have a role. Awesome. Lexi's a bro. Who else is a bro? Justin's a bro.
I could be another bro, but you can voice.
So let's do a third
I'm
bro.
more than willing. I'll do a mother.
She does.
Addie, you want to be a bro? No? Okay.
No.
Tay wants to be a bro.
Alright.
Okay, serving man has one line. You get credit for participating without having to do much.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were bro.
First player, second player. Oh yeah. Okay. Who is? Nick? Okay. We might not get to them, but they are players means actors. It doesn't mean player in the way you might be thinking. But you know what? You can play them that way if you want. Okay, what I want from you. So the main thing to remember here is that, what am I doing? Oh, here we go. Is that Shakespeare wrote for entertainment. He was not writing to try to get English 10th graders, 10th grade English students to pick apart every word and try and figure everything out. I mean, there will be a place for that because I like doing that. But for the most part, he was trying to write entertainment for the masses. Like anyone could come to his plays and get some joy out of it, whether or not they knew all the vocabulary. So we're going to pause a lot so that I can kind of explain what's going on, but feel free to put whatever emphasis you want into this to make it fun. Okay, so we're starting at the induction. Let me explain. On the left-hand side of the page are all the notes about what things mean. And on the right-hand side of the page is all of the dialogue. So you only have to read what's on the right-hand side. And I will read anything that is in italics. Okay, scene 1, we're at a bar, a pub. Enter a beggar. His name is Christopher Sly, and hostess.
I'll freeze you in fate.
A pair of socks you rub.
You're a baggage. The Slides are no rope. Look in the chronicles. You came in Richard Comfort. Therefore, process
Spanish.
Let the world slide, Cesar.
You will not pay for the glasses you have first?
No, not a denier. Go by, say Geronimi. Go to thy cold bed and warm.
He lies down.
I know my remedy. I must go fetch the head girl.
That's the police. She exits.
Third, fourth, or fifth, or I'll answer in my lot. I'll not budge an inch forward. Let him come.
Okay, so this scene, I mean, it's pretty clear from the way they're acting it. This guy is drunk and causing a ruckus, and the hostess is like, I gotta call the cops. I gotta get this guy out of my pub. You're just leaving now. All right, now it says wind horns within, which is basically like a little announcement. Enter a lord from hunting with his train.
Huntsman, I charge thee tender low my house. I can say that.
Yeah, breed, Merriman.
Breed Merriman, the poor curs and hawks, and couple louder with his deep mouth. Sauce thou not, boy, how silver made it good at the hedge quarter in the coldest fall. I could not lose the dog for 20 pounds.
Why, Bellman, as good as he is, my lord, he cried upon it at the merest loss, and cried, and twice a day picked out the dullest cent. Trust me, I take him for the better dog. I know a Russian accent.
Sure, yeah, first time can be Russian.
Thou art a fool. If Echo were asleep, I would esteem him worth a dozen such. But sup them well, and look unto them all. Tomorrow I intend to hunt again. I will, my lord.
Was that Russian? All right, so what are they talking about here amongst the huntsmen?
Their dog?
They're dogs, exactly, these names, Bellman, Echo, Clouder, and Silver. They're hunting dogs, and they're comparing whose dog is the best, and this becomes important because they're thinking about how their possessions reflect on them. Which one of their possessions is the best? All right, let's keep going. First huntsman leaves. Okay. Okay, the Lord notices Sly over here on the floor, passed out drunk.
What is here? One dead or drunk? Thieves up three.
Be brief, my lord. When he not warm with ale, is where a bad or close sleep goes out.
Oh, monstrous beast, how like a swine he lies.
I think I quoted my mother when I get up in the morning.
Grim death, how calm loathsome is thy image. Sirs, I will practice on this drunken man. What think you if he were conveyed to bed? Wrapped in sweet clothes, rings put upon his fingers, a most precious banquet by his bed, and brave attendant hear him when he wakes. Would not the beggar then forget himself?
Believe me, Lord, I think he cannot choose.
Even as flattering dreamer, worthless fancy. Then take him up and manage well with that. Carry him gently to my fairest chamber, and hang it round with all my wanton pictures. All his felt head in warm still waters, and burn sweet wood to make the lodging sweet. To prepare me music ready when he wakes, to make a dulcet and a heavenly sound. And if he chance to speak, be ready straight, and with a low submissive reverence say, what is it your honor will command? Let one attend him with a silver basin, full of rose water and bestrewn with flowers. Another bear that you are a diaper, and say,
Diaper is a towel.
well, please remove just so when you're ready with the cup. And ask him what apparel he will wear. Another tell him of his hounds and horses, and that his lady mourns at his disease. Persuade him that he has been lunatic, and when he says he is, say that he dreams, for he is nothing but a mighty lord. This do, and do a kindly, gentle sirs. It will be pastime passing, excellent, if it be husbanded with much.
My Lord, I warrant you we will play our part, and he shall think by our true diligence he is no less than what we say he is.
Take him up gently and to bed with him, and each one to his office when he wakes.
Okay, so what is the plan here?
They're kidnapped.
Matthew?
So I think they're trying to make Sly think that he's like a ruler, sort of.
Exactly, yeah.
They're gonna like take him while he's drunk and like asleep and like treat him really nicely, and then when he wakes up, they're just like, "Oh, you're a lord who just thought he was a peasant, actually."
Yep.
super rich."
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna gaslight Sly and try and convince him that he has been crazy for a while and thinking he's a beggar, or maybe he dreamed he was a beggar, but he is actually a great lord, and they're gonna treat him that so well that he's gonna think he was a great lord. And why does the Lord want to do this?
Well, he just wants to do that one.
He wants to practice on him. Like, he's supposed to have a good time. He's rich, you know? Yeah.
I think we should actually carry Luke out.
Does someone want to?
How does it wrap?
Let's skip that part. Lexi?
Okay, sorry, this isn't exactly the story, but I want to know if I'll be leaving more lines, because that, I need to redeem myself with that Russian accent.
I don't think you do,
All right, cool.
but next time.
Always next time.
Hey. All right,
If that
so,
wasn't Russian, that was more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they carry Sly out. They're gonna carry him to a nice bed, and trumpets sound within.
Can I come carry him?
And the Lord says,
Throughout, go see what trumpet is that sound.
and the serving man leaves.
The like so noble gentleman that means, traveling some journey to repose here.
And the serving man comes back.
Hey now, who is it?
Please, Your Honor, please, that offer service.
Bid them come near.
Okay, the players come near. They're actors, is what players are. And the Lord says,
Now, fellows, you are welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
You
You were just with me tonight.
Interesting choice.
With all my heart, this fellow I remember, since once he played a farmer's eldest son. Was where you moved with the gentlewoman. I have forgot your name, but sure that part was aptly fitted and naturally formed. Tis very true, thou didst it excellent. Nor come to me in happy times, the rather for I have some sport in hand, wherein your cunning can assist me much. There was a lord who hear you play tonight, but I am doubtful of your modesty, lest, over eyeing of his odd behavior, forget his honor never heard of play. You break into some merry passion, and so offend him. For I tell you, sirs, if you should smile, he grows impatient. You know, we can constrain ourselves, but we can carry it and take in the world.
So the Lord is like, don't laugh at him no matter what he does, because he's never seen a play before, and basically like you'll offend him. So don't laugh at him, and the players say that, you know, they won't. Okay.
Go straw, and take them to the butter, and give them friendly welcome, everyone. Let them want nothing but the house of the
Okay, one of the players exits. Oh, one of the serving men exit with the players.
Sure, go to Bartholomew, my page, and see him dressed in all suits like a lady. That done, conduct him to the drunkard's chamber, and call him Madame, do him.
Obeisance is like obey him.
Tell him, sorry, as to open my love. He bear himself with honorable actions, such as he hath observed to noble ladies unto their lords, by them accomplished. Such duty to the drunkard let him do, with soft, low tongue and low voice, and say, what is it your honor will command, wherein your lady, your humble wife, may show her duty and make known her love. And then kind embracements, tempting him, and with declining head into his bosom, bid him shed tears as being overjoyed to see her noble lord restored to health, who for the 7 years hath esteemed him, no better than a poor loathsome beggar. And if the boy have not a woman's gift, to rain a shower of commended tears, an onion will do well for such a ship, which in an action being close conveyed, shall in despite enforce a watery eye. See this dispatch with all the haste thou canst. Anon I'll give you more instructions.
So the serving man leaves, and what is he leaving to go do?
Get an onion.
He's going, the page, his name is Bartholomew. The serving man is going to go tell the page, hey, your master, Lord, wants you to dress up like a woman. Go sit by Sly's bed and wait for Sly to wake up. And then act like you are his wife of many years, right? And act like you're his wife, and everyone is going to treat the page like he is a lady, like a fancy lady, and she is going to like be so happy that Sly has finally awoken and realized that he is a lord. So that's the page's job here, and it says, if he can't cry, in other words, if he can't behave like a woman and be overly emotional, what should he do? Have an onion right there, right? And so it's like, okay, if you can't sort of act like a girl and cry because you're so emotional, right? Then you can use these tricks to get to that kind of performance. So right from the very beginning here, we're getting these ideas that gender might be a kind of performance that someone could put on and take off at any moment, like this page could convince someone he's a woman and pretend to cry. Sly can be a lord and all of this stuff. Okay, let's finish this scene. A serving man exits.
I know the boy will well assist the grace. Voice, gait, and action of a gentleman. I want to hear him call the drunkard husband, and how my men will stay themselves from laughter. When they do homage to the simple peasant, all aim to counsel him. Happily my pleasure may well abate the overbearing spleen, which otherwise would grow too extreme.
The spleen is where they thought like humor lay. So you like, when you have, I don't know how it works honestly, but that's why they refer to spleen. Okay. All right, so look at that tan piece of paper I gave you now. Flip it to the front. And you've now read the first scene of The Taming of the Shrew. Let's talk about, sorry, I need to promise. Let's talk about let's talk about what themes seem significant just in this very first little part. Yeah, raise your hands. What do you think is maybe some topics that seem to be coming up right here at the beginning? Yeah, Megan?
I felt like when they were talking about they said like act like a woman and then potentially like can't cry, get an onion, I think that's what I probably said away from it.
Yep.
Probably because it's something.
Yes. Yeah, in this play, it's like a kind of inferiority of women or like a weakness of women, but that the woman is there to like prop up the Lord, right? To make him feel manly and lordly by his side. Yeah, Whitney. There's a theme of deception going on here. Yeah, about how easily people are deceived and about how fun it is to deceive people. Yeah. Anything else that we're seeing coming up in the beginning here? How about rich people versus poor people? What's the distinction going on here at the beginning of that? Yeah, Matthew?
I think the Lord pretty much thinks that he can just like kidnap this poor person, do whatever he wants with him. So it's obvious that the rich people see that they have some privilege, that they're greater, and the poor people are lesser than that.
Yes. Excellent. And we see that kind of theme about belonging in two places. It's not just with Bartholomew and Sly, but it's the way we're introduced to the Lord when he's talking about his dogs and how he can say that, you know, these dogs belong to me too. And I can kind of like judge who is the better among the dogs. So it's this way that like the rich in this beginning kind of can pick people up and put them where they want, literally pick people up and put them where they want them to be, all so that they can have fun. Like there's no other motivation here except for this is going to be so funny. Okay, so in this little chart, you're going to write the quotation that you think is significant from this first scene. Choose any quotation that you want. And you're going to copy it here. It's technically not Act 1, it's Act Induction. Act Induction, Scene 1. And then you'll find the page number for your quotation. You'll write down the context, so what is happening at the time. That can be very brief. And then what we talked about here with the significance, that's all about how this kind of is starting to fit into certain topics or certain themes. You don't have much information now, but you can kind of start to see how that's working. And then the language is exactly what we have been talking about with your short story analysis, where you are thinking about the individual words and why he would choose these individual words. There are some interesting pictures in this. I didn't know this.